Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Gez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Gez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspiration messages and interviews, including motivational insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action without the hype in unleashing your greatness in life and in business. So we appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us. And we have a very special guest, and I'm super grateful to have him on our show. His name is Ken Fleiscner. He was born and raised in the Philippines, migrated to Australia in 2000, became a drug addict in the year 2000, however, changed his life by the grace of God, got saved in 2002, and led a thriving youth ministry for a decade, 2002 to 2012, that serves and empowers the community. He's happily married since 2007 with 3 beautiful kids and pastored a church in 2015 while his pastor was on sabbatical leave. He currently runs a very successful and thriving business from 2015. And our guest, his name is Ken. Ken, welcome to the show.
Hey, Gez. I thought that was a pre-recording.
No, man.
The energy is there, Gez. I thought that was a pre-recording that you do. Oh, okay. Oh, there. I got to experience the Gez energy right from the get-go.
So, Ken, so please tell us what you do. And tell more about yourself to those who don't know you yet.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't know me, so I'm a nobody, Gez. So there's a lot.
Hey, man, you're somebody.
Yeah. So well, currently I'm running an outsourcing business, and we're all remote workers. There's no one in an office, which is how we designed the business, which was really helpful during the COVID situation. And basically, we just try to help businesses with their biggest problem, which is cash flow. So we just help businesses, especially in the construction space, to get paid faster and kind of take the hassle of getting paid so that they can do more projects. That's kind of the gist of our business.
Wow. And how's that journey going through? I mean, like, if you think about today's industry now, everything's all remote, working remotely. So you are kind of ahead of the curve. So you've done this remotely. How did you transition? Obviously, working remotely from different places. How do you set those processes when people are still thinking about working remotely?
Yeah, I think from before, because I worked in an office, obviously, and I just hated working in the office because you were measured by time and never by performance. So to finish anything quickly had zero incentive. And so you just try to drag it out. And when you finish quickly, you have to drag out the day so you look busy enough before you go. And so when our transition to business, I just wanted to look for people in similar situation that they just want to produce, right? And be rewarded for results. And so with my staff, if they finish early, then they finish early. They're rewarded for efficiencies. They're rewarded for their expertise and not paying for their hours, really.
I think that's a game changer for any employer who owns a business and have a team of staff where it's not just time driven where you're twiddling your thumbs, but it's more outcome driven with results, which is fantastic. I'm really curious about your story and how you came from where you were. And I know that a lot of people who are listening to this podcast do have a lot of aspirations and dreams and goals that they want to achieve in life. However, they have some certain challenges personally. You mentioned here that you became, a drug addict. However, you were saved by the grace of God. How's that transformed your life from when you made that decision to say, you know what, I want to pivot my life and I want to do something that's greater, that's going to impact the lives of others during the journey that you are in right now?
I think, especially when you're hit rock bottom, the options get really clear, and it doesn't bear. It's not a good testimonial for Australia. I moved here and immediately become a drug addict. That's not the actual timeline. There was a little bit of period that I still enjoyed Australia, but obviously moving to a new country in high school just kind of fell into the wrong crowd, and that's where that went. But basically, what really helped me transition was not in any way a personal strength or willpower. There was just people there that kind of took the chance of inviting me to a church, and took the chance of mentoring me, took the chance of leading me through a process. And so the entire recovery, the entire journey was because of people. Like, there was nothing, I could not put a single, my only participation was willingness to actually follow people. That's about it. Like, I couldn't say that I added discipline and I pull out habits, and zero personal contribution aside from, okay, I'm willing to follow where you're leading me. And so that's kind of where that led, which is in a good place.
So from what I'm hearing, through that transition, obviously it wasn't the techniques or the willingness, but it's more on the environment you're in. You mentioned that you were part of a different crowd, but then as soon as you move into a different environment, how did that change for you? Was it through the mindset? Was it through the people that kind of invest their time with you, really saw the potential of not what you are now, but what you're going to become? Was that type of scenario?
Yeah, 100%. It was just the environment where people talked about different things. What was important to them was completely different to what was important to me. What made them happy, what brought them joy, what was exciting to them was completely different to the environment I had in high school. And so, to be part, you kind of get, peer pressure into good things, because to be part of the group, you have to participate in their activities, and it just happens to be good activities. And so that's where the environment was a gigantic part of it. Nothing really, that would be the contributing factor.
And because of that, it led you to lead a thriving youth ministry. How did that sense of purpose really resonate with you? Obviously, with yourself being transformed, but what caused you to unlock your mission in life that you said, you know what, I want to give back? Where did that happen in the point of time?
I think more in a personality type. I think for my personality, I just need to do something. I needed to do something. If I was going to be part of this church, I needed to do something. And if it was a little bit of music ministry, but also just looking back of where, if someone led me through high school, if I had a group that led me through that period, then I probably wouldn't have ended up where I ended. And so I just had a desire to create an environment that was attractive enough to young people to want to be part of it. And if I could, if I could lead some through a different pathway, then that was the rewarding factor. If I could lead 1, 2, 3, 5, 100, it really didn't matter. It was more so I needed to lead. I had the opportunity to be able to lead people through a different pathway, which worked for some, didn't work for others. But that was kind of the desire there. Another opportunity, another option for young people to follow a different way. Yeah.
And with your experience with working with young people, what are the common challenges that they normally face in life? Obviously, because it's all about service, right? You're not thinking about yourself; you're thinking about others. And the place that you were, the ministry that you're running, obviously, it's in areas where it's not an affluent area. Mm. How did you tap into servanthood that you find there was a certain pattern or certain challenge that these kids go through, and you're able to see that type of breakthrough when they start being part of your community?
Yeah, so the group that we had was a bit of a mix. At the start, it was, most people were from middle class, church people. So that was a little bit easier. And then we did get to a point in ministry where we tapped into a lot more underprivileged kids. And I think the biggest struggle was breaking through the barrier of authority, because most of the kids come from, broken homes, second, third, fourth fathers. It was a pretty messy situation. And so you had to break the barrier that we are authority that is a good kind, that we're here to serve you, that we are here to actually help you with benefits. We're unpaid. So it was breaking that barrier. And for some, it was never broken. For others, it took a short time. For others, it took a long time. And so that is still the biggest problem, because you're trying to just try to break through to get the kids to understand, hey, what we're trying to do is good for you. Like, we're not going to take advantage of this relationship. We're going to invest. We just trust us. But it just takes a while for some, and that's kind of the biggest barrier there.
How do you build that trust? Obviously, with that type of mindset and upbringing, how do you build that bridge between where you are with you and with them?
You mentioned it at the start, where it's about service,
Yeah.
and it's just that relentless service,
Wow.
because
I love it.
there's zero reward for a very, very long time, and some, like, there's zero reward. You put up all of the money, all of the time, all of the energy, and you just keep investing, keep sowing, and some never come to grips. Like, a large majority of it just never cross the line of really, or stick around long enough to experience the goodness of the community. But it's just relentless service. You just keep doing it until they finally realize, wait, this is not a show. This is not for any sort of reward. This is for real. People actually want to help me, and that's why they're doing this. Yeah.
Doing ministry and leadership for 10 years or even more, how has that empowered or really helped you in terms of leadership skills? Because it takes time, man. It's not like an overnight, right? And it's through experience. Like, no one's going to give you a manual of, oh, here's the leader. It's through experience. It's through life experiences. How did you build that resiliency in terms of leadership traits? How did you build that along the way?
Like, with the resilience, I think walking with someone was probably the most the thing that really made me stick in working with someone, because there was two of us suffering, and so, like, the shared suffering was the bond. So, having to do kids, and driving 3-4 trips every time, because we only had 2 cars. But to know that my friend Dave Echo, that everyone knows, that guy needs no introduction, because everyone knows that guy. Yeah.
But not the other guy.
Yeah, not me. I always use Dave's name to connect with people. It's like, yeah, hey, I'm Ken, Dave's friend. Like, Dave Echo. That's how people know me. I'm his friend. But yeah, probably shared suffering was what kept me in, because you knew other people were suffering with you. You were fighting. You were in the trenches with somebody else, and that just kept you going. You know that you weren't alone. There was people there experiencing exact same pain, exact same energy depletion, everything else. So that's kind of like the resilience part. What has sharpened me, probably the skills that really got to sharpen a lot there, was having to deal with such a wide variety of people, because each person receives information differently.
Differently, absolutely.
So, like, a teenage boy likes to receive it this kind of information this way. Teenage girl, my kids like to receive information differently. I speak to adults, to single moms, it's a big leadership is quite, like, diverse in that way, and so that you start to learn that just because your idea is good doesn't mean people are going to buy into it, right? Doesn't mean that just because it's noble that everyone's going to jump in. You could put on a program and say, hey, we're going to feed the poor, and it's going to help so many people, and 2 people rock up, right? Because either you've undersold it, and you've been in corporate for so long as well, Jez, that you pitch an idea in a meeting that no one received at all. It's like, okay, next topic, and it's either, there's a few factors. It's either timing, the idea is not good for that time at that particular moment, or it may be influence. You got zero influence in that group, and therefore your idea is terrible, regardless. Or the other one is that you're just not presenting. You're not communicating the idea well enough, and so having to do that in leadership for so long, you start to develop the skills to go, okay, so this type of people like this type of information.
And how's that translated into your business now, with everything that you've learned through those 10 years of leadership at church and doing ministry and doing amazing stuff? How's that translated into the business that you're running right now?
Well, right, like I think right now there's two ways of leadership. I'm the boss. I could say, hey, I'm the boss. Do the thing I tell you, and it'll get the result, but it's the it'll come with the wrong attitude behind it. And so every time we do have a new idea, I bring in other ideas in, but really it's trying to get people to participate in the idea, participate in the decision, so that it becomes a company decision, which is, and then you sell it to the technical guy to say, hey, this is how exciting this is going to be because it's going to be so complicated. You're going to love this. And then you sell it to the other person. It's like, hey, if we do this efficiency, you get to go home 1 extra hour early, and you just have to sell the idea different ways. It gets the same results, but you're just trying to get as much buy-in from everyone else. Because if you just put the hammer down, I've never had to do that yet, but if you just put the hammer down, yes, people will do it, but with just the wrong motives, wrong attitude, and it'll just it'll chip away at my influence and leadership. And so I just try to sell it.
So how do you do that buy-in? Because most leaders do have that type of challenge where they do have an idea or they want to do an initiative. However, they can't do it alone, right? And so whatever influence that they have, it starts with a vision. How do you get people to buy into what you want to achieve, knowing that, okay, I got to stir the company. I know where I need to go. I just can't do it alone. How do you get people to buy in? Because a lot of leaders have an idea, but it gets discouraged because they can't get everyone reeled in to see what they see.
Yeah, I think the most is that you need a few key people to buy in. You don't need the entire organization to buy in. You just need the people that will make it, get it across the line to buy in. And the thing that I do first is to pitch the idea and gather information from them. It's like, what do you think? What do you think of this? And then it gives the opportunity for some people to express their concern, express their excitement, express their other ideas, because just because I come up with it, it doesn't mean it's the best idea. In our leadership team at work, it's open game. You can challenge any of my ideas. Anyone can challenge anyone's ideas, obviously with respect and good nature. But then it just gives an opening that, hey, because the boss said it, doesn't mean it can't be challenged. And I have a guy at work that consistently challenges my ideas. And then there are points where he's right, there's points that I'm right, but we always reach an amicable decision that's like, okay, at least we know we've challenged the idea and we've come to the conclusion that this idea that we've decided is the best idea for the entire organization. Because from a business point of view, I'm worried about customers and number and profitability and the people. But I can't see everything. I got blind spots, and I got blind spots, and there's things that are most important to me, and there's things that doesn't even hit my radar. And so I have a very diverse leadership team in my group that I picked because I knew we have differing ideas and personalities, and so it gives a well-rounded decision.
I think that's really important. Yeah, and I think from your point, it's because a lot of leaders or business owners and the top dogs where, yeah, they listen, but they don't really listen. It's like, yeah, I really want to go this way. But for yourself, it's you're so open and you're receptive as well at the same time. It's like, okay, let's think it through together. Even though I may have a bit of blind spots, but you're able to open yourself and say, yeah, I do. We're not perfect. We don't see everything. And like you said before, it's all about service. It's all about innovating. It's all about thinking of different ideas, and you have everyone's buy-in, as in everyone's all participating. And that's one of the keys that you mentioned is about participation. So we know that leadership is crucial in any business, but from someone who's listening to this podcast, who wants to build their leadership capability, what would be your 3 tips or your principles that you live by that can actually help someone who's actually listening to the podcast today?
I think it's the easiest way to really learn leadership is to serve under a good leader. Like just to serve and absorb and be on the other side of it. Like to be able to just do what is necessary be a contributor for the team, right? And so if you serve under a leader, and I've served under great leaders and some bad leaders, but you learn either way. So serving is probably one of the key things, not the most important. Like, this is not in any particular order, but so yeah, serving is quite crucial because it's a character testing. The next one is probably work on your character, because in across the board, regardless of industry, what brings the leader down is not skill sets, it's always a character flaw. They'll reach the top heights, and infidelity, or or pride gets them, or they're stealing money or something that's character related, right? It's never skill sets. It's never like, oh, they made the wrong, very rarely is it because of skill set. It's always character. So if you work on your character the most, then you'll have the right character traits to be a good leader. And then probably be teachable. I remember how arrogant I was as a young leader, like scoffing at old leaders, like, oh, your ideas are so old, like this will never work. You're just scoffing, and you're thinking, this is the best, this is the quickest, this is the latest thing, this is the newest app. And then as you mature in leadership, you start to understand, wow, people that have stood the test of, not everyone stands the test of time in leadership. And so if someone's there for 10 years, for 20 years, they've been there for a reason. They have resilience, they've seen a lot. And so because there's a lot of high flyer leaders at the beginning, just a peak, very influential, very charismatic, and then 2 years later they're gone. And then I was scoffing at people that was like, oh wow, you're just a old leader, no nothing. So being teachable and having like an attitude of always learning, because there's just so many things that you need to pick up. That saying of when I've heard leaders before where the more they know, the less confident they become, because you just get to realize, wow, there's so much more things I don't know. And so actually less confident now with over 10 years of leadership and so many books and so many things than I was in the first year. The first year I was a really good high flyer, confident leader.
Yeah.
Now not so much. Now I'm just like cautious, like making sure, hey, is that the right thing? Yeah.
And
More, yeah.
And through this, you built a lot of wisdom, right? Like the ups and downs, the experiences that you go through life in leadership, because it takes energy, it takes time and effort, blood, sweat, and tears, dealing with people, all sorts of personalities. There's someone who's actually listening that are leaders, but they feel they want to throw in the towel. What would you say to them if you have, because obviously sometimes it's not always the highs, right? And sometimes they may be stuck in a road where they can't break through. What would be your advice to them, that those who are currently stuck in their leadership position?
I think in leadership, often it gets glamorized because it's authority, it's prestige, it's recognition, it's all that. But really, that's probably 10% of leadership. Most of it is problems and responsibilities, sleepless nights because you're thinking of other people, not just yourself. So it's a lot more difficult than what it's portrayed as. But I think just at the beginning, what rescued me from myself was other people. It's the same with leadership, where being around other people, there have been so many moments, especially in youth leadership, where I wanted to quit every month, really, for 10 years. Like, it was terrible. But being around people that were passionate, there were moments where I was borrowing their energy. It's kind of like we were sharing each other's energy. That there were months where I was on a high and they were riding the wave of my high and my passion and my energy. And then there's other months where I was riding on their wave. And so being around leadership and business, and it's quite a lonely place, because whether or not there's pressure from the outside, there's always pressure from the inside to make the right decisions and do the right thing. And there's so many depending on you. And so being around good people. I know you run a group as well, Jez, the Thrive community. Is that yeah, that's right. Like being around people like that is so beneficial, because there are moments where their business is going so well, your one isn't, so or vice versa. But to ride the wave together, like other people, community is so important. I hate whenever people say self-made. I hate that, because I think it's an incorrect reflection of truly the journey, because there's so many people participating in that journey. If you were self-made as a business owner and you didn't require people, you don't have customers, you don't have anyone else, you're not self-made. There's so many people contributing to your success, and so you need other people to get over that hump.
I'm actually speechless at the moment because that's just a lot of nuggets, a lot of insights. Guys, if you're really listening to chicken nuggets, but like honestly, those are listening and watching in this podcast, you got to go back and revisit this insights all about leadership, because it's not glamorous, right? It may sound nice as a title, but the responsibility that you carry, however, it's worth the responsibility because you can see potential. You got a different type of lens, right? You put a different type of lens, and it's all about adding value. It's all about servanthood. And you start to not only build resiliency, but you build a lot of purpose and mission, and you get so much clarity and direction that people start to ride together. And I think that's really important. It's the environment, the support that you have. And I love it, Ken, how you said about self-made. That's a really good insight to take on, because people are either putting a seed, they're actually, not adding value to you, and see not just the situation now, but what you're going to become. So there's a lot of contributors to your life from where you were to where you are now. And now it's like, well, how do I build that formula to help other people in this type of leadership style? So guys, Ken, again, thank you so much. So I always ask this question to every guest that's on the podcast show. So what is your meaning of motivation without the hype? And how do you use motivation for your personal success?
I actually like hype, Jez. I play in sports teams and I require hype every time. It's like for that little boosted moment, like, come on, guys, we're going to win this. I need hype in that moment. But really, motivation without the hype is that having the energy to keep going regardless. Like,
wow,
regardless,
yes.
Regardless the result, regardless the emotion, regardless the dollar figures, regardless the size, it's just keep going, having the motivation to keep going, because the mission that you're fighting for is worth it. And so you just keep going. There will be moments where there's hype, there's moments where there's glory, but most of the time it's not, and you just require the motivation to just keep going regardless.
Keep on going, guys. I actually like that as well. Like, yeah, we do need hype, but being consistent and committed throughout the whole. So go all in, right?
Yeah. And you're the ultimate hype man, Jez.
Oh, come on.
Like energy to the max.
So thank you so much, Ken. It was phenomenally awesome. For more information, if you want to get in touch with Ken, I'll provide the link that you can actually connect with him on the show notes, on the provided links. So again, support him. And if you feel that you resonate with the values that he's presented tonight, come check him out. It will be all in the provided notes there for you. So if this episode has been helpful and uplifting, we would love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high-value content in each of every episode. If you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media by inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me, we will continue to have the opportunity to share those posts, and together, I say together, we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we will see you on the next episode.